Thank you, everybody, for coming. And thank you to Nora for having me. My name is Jonna Suchi. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions for Loyola University Chicago. Has anybody here ever been to Chicago or know of Chicago? Okay, great. Been to Chicago, know of Chicago? Okay, great. So we are located just about 20 minutes north of city center. I can talk to you a little bit later about Loyola, but today, really, I'm here to talk to you about the essay writing portion of the U.S. admissions process, okay? So no matter where you apply in the U.S., no matter where you're located, as Nanor mentioned, the admissions requirements tend to be the same throughout each institution, if that makes sense, okay? Something that all institutions, whether it's required or not required, ask you to submit is an essay, okay? So, students always ask me, what would you like to see in an essay? And my answer is that it's not what I want to see, but it's what you want to tell us, okay? Now, you submit a lot of document stuff. You submit a resume, you submit your transcripts, you submit letters of recommendation. On your application, you're required to submit information about your extracurricular activities, maybe even like your parent information. I probably know more about you by the end of your application process than you do. But again, the essay is the part where you can tell me something that I don't already know, okay? So what do universities want? I would like for authenticity. I need to know who you are outside of your application. I need to know your writing ability. While it's important that the content of your essay is great, I need to know that you can write, okay? You are going to university, you are going to be doing a lot of writing, okay? This is going to prompt me and let me know if you are able to write at the university level. While yes, you do the SAT, ACT, TOEFL, or IELTS, you are taking either an English course now or an English writing course now. If I see that someone's writing ability isn't at an advanced level, or maybe another admissions counselor, we might be a little bit reluctant to admit you. An essay alone will not get you into a university, okay? But poor effort or questionable taste, that can make you not, that can keep you out, okay? So it's not rocket science, I swear to you, it's just effort. The essay is simply one piece of a puzzle, a chance to personalize your application. All day I look at numbers, GPAs, SAT scores, TOEFL, IELTS. Everybody is either doing Model UN, or they're doing a sport, or they're doing something that they think makes them unique, which I hate to say this, doesn't always make you that unique. No, we have 20,000 applications at Loyola alone. That's one university who has 20,000 applications. That can be daunting when you're looking at every student who has a 1250 SAT, who has a 4.0 or a 35 on their IB. Everybody kind of begins to blend, okay? In addition to all of that, we're weighing other factors, grades, regular classes, the resume, your accomplishments. So again, it's just a piece of the puzzle, okay? Okay, this is something that in my 6 years of doing admissions, that will get kids into the most trouble, not only with us, but with other institutions. This is, if you take away anything from this presentation, please let this be it, because this is going to carry with you into college and even into later on in life, okay? Guides are fine, plagiarism is not. Not only will this get you denied from an institution if we catch you plagiarized, but we are legally required to tell other universities if you plagiarized.
And everyone knows what plagiarism is.
Right. Especially if you're doing the Common application, we are required to tell Common App, and you cannot. And even if it's not intentional, okay, so please be very careful with this if you're reviewing with a friend. Okay, I've seen so many kids' hearts break because they just they didn't mean it on purpose. So my friend wrote something similar, or I got this prompt out of a book that was really great. Please be very careful with this, okay? It can really make or break your career. And the same thing in college. Yeah, I remember I had in my graduate program, I wrote a paper and I almost got kicked out of my graduate program because it wasn't cited properly. It was cited, but they said this is plagiarism, and I had to go in front of a committee and I had to defend myself and all of that. It's serious business in the U.S. and across the globe, but in an admissions essay, we will definitely not, no other institution will admit you either, okay? I don't mean to sound like a mom right now and be so serious, but it is something that I've seen students who are more than capable, and it's usually the kids who are academically very strong and have everything it takes. They're the kids who plagiarize, not the kids who are at the mid-range, okay? And if you have questions about what plagiarism is, at that point, I would either maybe come to Nenor or go to maybe one of your counselors, okay? When you're selecting a topic, let's see, give each essay question a consideration. Don't try to summarize your entire life. Guys, I don't want to know about the time you were born and then your mom tried to use a pacifier, you didn't do that, so she took the bottle and then no. I don't need to know the entire life story. A vivid description, a piece of who you are, okay? So just something to think about, okay, when you're selecting a topic. Brainstorm. How do I spend my time? What do I like to do? What do I think about most of the time? That's a tricky one because sometimes we don't want to know what you're thinking about sometimes. And what are the things that truly matter to me? So remember how I had mentioned about plagiarism and maybe talking with your friends about what it is they're writing? You should always ask others for feedback, okay? This includes everything from maybe your mom to Nenor to your college counselor to a friend, okay? Because each one of those members, one of those people in your sort of circle can contribute something. Your friend may not be that great with grammar, but maybe your friend knows a piece of your story that you're telling that maybe they were there for you with it. Do you remember this is how it happened? Do you have any other details? And then for grammar and writing, I know for me I wasn't the best writer, so I had my English teacher actually proofread my essay. Then friends with native English. Thankfully, again, you have the EE.UU offices. I think that's probably great, okay? Okay, what not to write. This is the more fun part. I've seen a lot of really interesting essays. I'm not going to say bad, but I've seen a lot of very interesting essays that I'll never forget. Yeah, that I will never forget. TMI, guys, TMI, too much information. While I love to know you all on a personal basis, and I love hearing your stories, too much information. Please avoid stories that cause you to share details that are overly intimate, graphic, or illegal. Please, guys, especially the illegal part. I'm your friend in this process, but I cannot. Nope. Because then, remember, you got the whole visa process coming in. If you're doing something illegal, I'm legally required to report it. And then, not only that, it also goes to other universities if we catch something illegal. So just do not tell me about that. So, how many of you have actually taken a look at the U.S. application? Have you seen a sample of it? Okay, so on the application, you are required to list some of your activities, whether that be Model UN, you play soccer, you racquetball, any of your extracurriculars, okay? That's what they're designed to do. We already know this. I don't need you to retell me this, okay? Your opportunities, and I look at all of that. The opportunity, look at that, is already there, okay? What I would like for you all to do is something that I cannot already find in these applications. These applications are, if the Common App, they're probably, 15 pages long? They're very long, and it's going to be filled with this stuff, okay? Health issues. This I'm kind of on the fence about. If you want to tell me that, if you want it to be a part of your story but not your entire story, that's fine. I'll give you an example. I have had students who maybe academically struggled during one of their years because maybe they were sick. They were in the hospital, and it was really a traumatic experience for them, but they learned from it, they grew, they became a better person from it. But the actual struggle was maybe a small part of it, and it explains maybe a discrepancy in their academic career. Unless it truly is going to explain something to me as to why you are the way that you are, I would maybe leave that out. I have seen stories of children who have battled cancer for half of their lives. They had childhood cancer. Students who had some other issues that they grew from it. It was more of a growth rather than a complaint. I see a lot of times students who want to be biology majors, they want to be doctors because mom and dad or their grandparents were sick or they themselves were sick. That is something that would explain a lot to me. Why? Because if a biology program is extremely competitive and we want to know your genuine interest, it's not because, oh, I want to be Dr. House or I want to be like on Grey's Anatomy. Something similar that if you have a story, that's where help would come in, okay? But again, back to what I said previously about consulting someone, talk to someone about it and make sure it sounds okay. My way or the highway? Okay. I truly believe that as an American, you are entitled to have an opinion and that your voice matters. I truly do. And it's okay to talk about your beliefs or opinions, but what we want is open-minded students. Okay? Eager to engage with people and ideas, willing to both share and listen. Demonstrating a narrow worldview where your way is the only right way could work against you. I'm not your mother. You're not going to argue with me and tell me that it's my way or the highway. That's how I am with my mother. I'm right. She's wrong. That's fine. That's between. But with me, I'm looking for your personality. I'm looking for your energy. Are you going to be a good fit? At Loyola, we're 30% international. We have 15,000 students. Different faith backgrounds, religions, cultures. If you are closed-minded, that's not something that I want to see. It would almost be a red flag, a raise of concern. Okay? So have an opinion, have a belief, please, that is valued at U.S. institutions. Your voice is valued, but just know that others will have theirs as well. Okay? Complaints or excuses or whining. This kind of goes back to the health issue. I just don't complain to me that my school was really hard, or that I don't test well because I have X, Y, and Z issue. I don't want to hear it. Don't try and explain a bad test scores or grades. Not the place to do it. I'm sorry. Maybe a piece of it. Maybe if it was truly a traumatic experience, but usually if I see it's a small piece of it. It's like in the whole page, maybe it's 3 or 4 sentences. Okay. If you do really want to let a counselor know that there's a discrepancy in your grades, okay, send them an email. I've had students do that with me, where they will send me an email and say, listen, I had an issue my 10th grade year because mom was sick, or I was taking care of dad, mom lost their job, something like that. You can tell me that. That will not get you in trouble. I won't say no to your admission. I also have counselors put in their letters of recommendation explanations of that as well. So if your counselor knows you very well, you can maybe ask them to include in their letter of recommendation something about why there's a discrepancy in your grades. Usually they tell me. I want to say 99, maybe don't realize it, 99% of the time they'll tell me, so-and-so transferred from this school. She had a difficult time converting to the IB because mom was sick. But if that's not available, tell me directly or ask your counselor to do it, okay? Stand-up comedy. If you're funny, be funny, but in a way that reveals who you are and your values. Your focus should be, you should be your focus, not the humor. I like humor. I think you can tell I like humor. I like to have a good time, and I like students who like to have a good time. Shouldn't take life too seriously, but there's a time and a place for it. Not your essay. I like cheeky, I like funny, but not throughout the entire essay, because humor, unfortunately, will not get you into university. I like it. I'll like you, but yeah. A term paper. Guys, I can't tell you how many times I've read a paper on Julius Caesar or Alexander the Great or Cleopatra. Students take an essay that they wrote this beautiful, and they are beautifully written. I have to say they're well composed and they're great, but I don't want a term paper. Because you're going to have to write a million of those once you get to college. I don't want to read it. I'm not a professor. I don't want to read it. So don't get lazy and just submit a former paper from class. Okay, now, exception to this. There are classes at schools where a counselor or maybe like your English teacher will say, guys, we're going to have a college essay writing workshop. And they will sit down with you and write an essay. That's a different story. If the goal of that paper, not a term paper, but if the goal of that paper in class, like we're doing now, you can submit that to me. That's fine. But again, I don't want to know about chromosomes and no. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. The travel log. Oh, I don't know. Well, so, okay. I'm so happy to hear of students' travels. I think it's great to travel. That is literally what I do for a living. And I've actually got some great ideas for personal travel from some of the essays that I've written. But don't just give me a tour of India. I've been to India, so I don't need to hear about it. Tell us what India means to you and how the trip impacted you. Okay, so if any of you are thinking about travel, write this down, okay? What it means to you and how the trip impacted you, okay? If you're going to tell me about a country, honey, I've probably been there. I've seen like 80% of the world. So, and most of international admissions counselors, I'll tell you, have seen about 80% of the world. So, I want to know what it means to you, because what India means to me is very different than what it means to you, and I'd like to see someone else's perspective, okay? How it impacted me, I got very sick when I went to India. Very, very sick. It was a beautiful experience, but...
The how impacted you part goes back to that other one about the health or any of those things, is like how it made a difference on your life and your outlook and your thoughts and the way you are. At the end of the day, that's always it's an important part of it.
It is. Right. But I do love reading about travel, so please don't let this, but community service. Okay, so I work for a Jesuit university, okay? Community service is a foundation on which Jesuits function. That is part of our curriculum. And I am a believer in community service, give back. But if it is central to who you are, this can work. But you need to show respect, okay? If I am a better person because I served in X country, is a hard essay to write because it requires a nuanced understanding of issues like class, social justice, and economics. Okay, I don't want to hear how you pity someone. I don't want to hear it. No, this is something that community service, like it's kind of like, I believe that when you do good for someone, you shouldn't expect anything in return. You do it because that's what you do, correct? When you write it in an essay, to me, it looks like you're showing off. Okay, if it is part of who you are and you want to go to school and you want to study social justice and you love Loyola because we're a Jesuit institution and we believe in community service and social justice, I want to hear about that, but don't tell me about the poor guy on the side of the street who you brought blankets to. Like that, it just, yeah, no, it just looks bad. It looks like you're trying to kind of show off in a way that's not very attractive to us. The lie, guys, don't lie. Please, please, please don't lie. And we can catch you. We can do it. Because we have every single piece of information about you, from your mom and dad's names to where they grew up, to where you grew up, to your birth date, to your, we have everything. You're required to submit it. Don't do it, period. When you tell an amazing story that does not really happen to you, and that admissions finds out, they will not be happy, and neither will you. They have the right to deny you admission if they find out. Do not lie. Okay? At that point, I can't help you because that goes above me. That goes to the president, the dean. I can't, at that point, I can't vouch for you. Maybe if you, yeah, just don't lie. You're interesting. Everybody has something interesting about them. And when I do these workshops, because we're going to get into the writing next, where you're going to find, even if you think you're not interesting, you are. I promise you, you're interesting. You don't have to lie. And I hate having this slide here because most students nowadays are interesting, but I still have to put it up just because I have to. Okay.